Hi guys, it's Dr. Pam and I am here with your burning question. Oh no, I'm not here with your burning question. Why? Mainly because there haven't been any burning questions in the comment section. So I haven't received any questions that I can answer. So if you would like to continue to play, scroll down and leave me a question. Otherwise, this might be the last one today. So just in case, I thought I would end it with the burning question regarding the inception of pet food. And I thought it was brilliant to actually do this at the very end because there's such an interesting flow of how things evolve. So let's get started. First of all, the very first pet food was made in 1860 by a man named James Spratt. James Spratt was an electrician, and he was over in England, and he noticed that the sailors were throwing the biscuits that they came off the ship with. They were throwing them to the stray population, and the dogs were eating them like gangbusters. So like any good American, he's like, how can I turn this into a business that's making a lot of profit? So he did that. He brought the idea back to the United States and he developed the very first dog food biscuit. And he marketed it to the upper echelon of society. And I'm going to tell you something, it did beautifully. It did very, 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 very well. So it was a very great move on his part as far as a profitable move. So that was the very first piece on the pet food, modern pet food inception. So the next big turning point or next big change came in 1918. And at that time, we had just gotten out of the World War I, and we had an overage or a surplus of horses. We were doing more technology, which means that we had machines to do the work, not the horse-drawn carriages and horse-drawn items. So essentially, we use machinery. So kennel ration jumped in, formed, and then created the first canned dog food made from horse meat. And that was a big pivotal change and a change in the industry as well. Purina closely followed them, and on we went. So in 1941, we had the beginning of the World War I, right? And canning in metal cans was actually banned for the time period because all of the metal had to go off to the war effort. So the pet food industry was like, what do we do now? So that is when kibble was born. They wanted to take the least expensive ingredients and then create a process in a way that wasn't super expensive and then make a high profitable type of diet for the industry. And they managed to do that, and the kibble was born. And so interestingly enough, they created the kibble. Things were moving along, but it wasn't really until 1956 that the extrusion process was invented or used. And the extrusion process, I don't know if you guys remember from about a month ago on the video that I sent you about how processed pet food is actually made. You remember the diagram? It had the rendered meat meal from the diseased, dying, dead, and disabled and euthanized pets that's browned into a mush, and then it basically, to remove water, creates a powder. That powder is mixed with more water, makes a dough. That dough is gray. They push it through extrusion process. The extrusion process heats it to 320 degrees in order to kill microbial contamination. So that was why extrusion process was invented. And then from there, they add on the corn gluten meals, the stabilizers, all the things. They'll spray on the synthetic vitamins. They'll spray on some of the powders of the vegetable and fruit, if there are any, and such like that. So in that process, extrusion was a big deal. And it really made the market take off. So the market was really booming after that. And then in 1993, Dr. Ian Billinghurst of Australia wrote a book, Give a Dog a Bone. Now, Australia was behind the United States in the use of the processed dog food and pet food. And so he started seeing the disturbing trend of health while he was giving this particular food. And so he wrote this book about raw food feeding. And that was the do-it-yourself raw food that a lot of people started doing in the late 90s in the United States. And then we had the high-pressure processing and onward from the last post that we talked about. So I want to draw your attention to one thing, and that is, maybe it's kind of funny that the father of modern pet food was an electrician. I find that entertaining, at least. But the most important thing to take from this is that every shift in change of the pet food industry was never made for the health and well-being of your pet. All the big decisions, all the big things that were done because of world events, economic issues, things along that line. They do things in the pet food industry for a matter of profit. Profit drives everything in this country. You know that. So I find that interesting, and I just thought you might want to know that. So there's one thing that you should take away from the series. It's that you can learn so much and you can change the world. Knowledge is very empowering, but if we sit back and act as if it doesn't exist, then they'll keep doing it and they'll do worse. And trust me, there's a lot worse going on right now. So at any rate, what I encourage you to do is to really take this on. Go see or rent the documentary, Pet Fooled. There's part 1. They're going to have a 2 coming out here soon. There's a lot of information in there that isn't inflammatory. It's the truth. So that's what I'm giving to you. I hope you can take it forward. Really keep looking, because your pet is your baby and he or she is totally worth it. I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks. Bye.